What's up, dudes? Just sitting outside taking a break. Spirit wants to talk about people might be having collapse of false reality. People may be saying, oh my God, have I outgrown my religion? That can be very scary. I have a whole video about that, and I will link that video in the comment section of this video. So, the topic is indoctrination, and it's not to offend or piss off anyone. This is just honest truth. So let's think college level class discussion, theology, religion, Christianity. A lot of people have been indoctrinated to believe their holy book. So we'll talk Christians right now, but it can be anyone. Their holy book is the end-all be-all word of God, and it trumps. And if you know, like if you play games, trumping something means I win, I leapfrog over you, I'm more important, I trump it. So that their religion trumps all the other religions. So you get, and then so this holy book was placed in your baby bassinet. It's not insidious. It's the beliefs that your parents believe, probably. And their parents put that holy book in their bassinet. You were never told that this is a manual based on symbolism on how to live a good life. Instead, you were told this is the end-all be-all, and you're supposed to interpret everything exactly as it's written. But you may have had an expansion of consciousness, a spiritual awakening, a veil ripped off, something where you can no longer ignore the insult to intelligence about these. Where spirit is making you say, wait a minute. Where your ego had led you to say, my beliefs trump other people's beliefs. For example, an uninformed Christian bigoted thing to say would be all Muslim people are bad and Islam is bad and I believe in God. I don't believe in Allah. I believe in God. Smug. Yeah. Well, guess what? People who practice Islam also believe in God. And the translation for the word God is Allah. So a lot of these holy books are very similar. So it's not that your Christian God and they got some dude named Allah that they're talking about. No, they got their God too. It's God. It's the concept of God. But you were never taught that. You were taught how to feed your own ego through religion. And oftentimes taught all you have to do is be a good student of this book and not have to think beyond what's said there, and you will get a free pass into salvation when you die. Yeah. So you can have a collapse of false reality, and it can be terrifying if you had religious oppression your whole life and never realized it. If you are born into a very religious family, Spirit may have you be ascending past your religious confines, dogma. You may realize, yeah, so here's the deal. Some Christians can lose their mind, saying, no, I will not believe it. Jesus was never a carpenter. Can you handle it? Can you handle that you were taught the wrong thing? And I'll tell you why. Jesus was a Jewish boy whose father was Jewish. Now, I don't know a lot about Judaism, but back then, if you knew a trade, especially if you were Jewish, you were supposed to bring your son or your child with you and teach them that trade. And so his dad was a stonemason and would bring Jesus with him, and Jesus saw how the rich people lived. So he couldn't have been a carpenter because trees, there weren't wood trees. People lived in rock houses. Nations were going to war over groves of trees. So Jesus wasn't framing out houses as a carpenter. No, he was a stonemason. And now think of how old the Bible is in the game of telephone. When you start saying one thing, at the end it's a completely different thing. It got lost in translation. The word for stonemason and carpenter are very similar. And somewhere, somebody passed on the oral history, inflicted. Collapse of false reality. You cannot ignore the insult to intelligence. That can be very devastating, scary. You can feel betrayal from God, from your family, from everybody, when you have to see the truth. So if you're there, if you might be panicking or just even calmly been like, I've outgrown my religion, my religious confines. If you're panicking, saying, oh my God, help, I'm lost. Make sure to watch that Galactic seminar. It says Galactic seminar in the title. Religion. Oh my God, have I outgrown my religion? And I'll link that in the comment section here of this video. I also have, I'll have to watch this back and see what I just channeled. Oh yeah, I know what it is. There's information that Spirit wants us to think about now. So if you are here within your expansion of your consciousness, and if you've had a spiritual awakening, there's a good chance you're going to start thinking some really big thoughts. And that's what it means. You're going to go very, very deep. And so a good way, if you've never really started with these spiritual concepts or anything like that, and you're like, how do I wrap my mind around this? You can think of consciousness as the ability to comprehend. And a good example was given by Alan Watts. And he said, if you are a visual learner, imagine a latex balloon that's not blown up, just an unblown, blown up balloon. Now it's black. Imagine it being black. Now put white polka dots on it, and it's just there. You got it in your mind's eye. Now pick it up and blow it up. Now imagine what happens to the white polka dots as you blow it up. They start expanding. That's your mind. Now the black in the background is also expanding. That's time and space. So these great big things start happening to your beautiful, intelligent mind. And it can get overwhelming to have these great big thoughts. And it happens whether or not you want it to happen. If you've been I spent my money. If you've been sent on a spiritual awakening, for some reason, Spirit is putting you through a process called the cleanse. And what's going to happen is childhood issues that you had no idea you were even carrying around inside of you are going to come bubbling out. Trauma that you have had is you are going to have to face it. So what happened was, and this is how you start finding the Holy Grail, which is self-love, the Ace of Cups. There is something wounded in you from your childhood that has caused trauma. And trauma works like a light switch. It's not like a sliding spectrum. And so if you've been a scapegoat of a family, if you've learned to like say, this is always all my fault, like all that kind of stuff, you may even have a hard time acknowledging that you have had trauma. Because, well, that person had that horrible thing way worse happen to them. How dare I even complain? So what we have to understand is in childhood and even, for the rest of our lives, there are situations that will activate trauma. The light switch flipped. You have been traumatized. And so what is happening is that energy inside of you called trauma is taking up too much room in your vessel, which is your body. And I use these different words because if we hear the same words over and over, they stop losing their meaning. So your vessel, picture it as the Kool-Aid pitcher from when we were a kid. It's got a bunch of trauma at the bottom, which I call bog bodies. It's got the water in it and the Kool-Aid package, but the water is all the way to the top. There's no room to add the sugar. And your Kool-Aid is fucking nasty. So what Spirit does is awaken this trauma from your past. Now think of a tuning fork. It will put you in a situation where boom, it'll resonate the same vibrations and it will activate this traumatic bog body to start floating up your pitcher, and you have to deal with it. It's the devil you kept pushing down will look you in the fucking face. So what has happened was, when you were a child, whatever that trauma was, it was so intense that Spirit threw a veil on you. Just so you could survive. And now, whatever age you are now, this many years later, is the appropriate time to deal with that level of trauma. So if this resonates, think of your little self who never had anyone help them, protect them, prevent it. So what we're going to do as an adult who is revisiting this trauma, we're going to picture our inner child and we're going to say, I love you. I'm sorry that happened to you. I am now old enough to understand the little version of me got traumatized. And I'm going to take it upon myself to show that little version of me that I am loving and lovable. And then when that happens, when you actually deal with the trauma, now this is a thing that happens. It activates. It's not like you're choosing for this to happen, a spiritual awakening. And people who haven't had the awakening and the cleanse don't understand this process. This is an actual thing that happens to you, and it's going to happen whether or not you want it to happen. So when you birth that bog body, and I call them bog bodies because just like those bog mummies from like thousands of years ago, All of a sudden the situation is right, the bog opens up and a mummy spits out, and we all study it, and we wonder what the fuck happened to it. It's just like that. And as soon as your vessel releases the mummy, now the water in your pitcher goes down. Spirit immediately puts in sugar. Oh my God, I feel better. Brrr. Yeah, here comes another bog body. So you will have to birth multiple bog bodies when you go through the cleanse. Spiritual awakening is not puffy, rainbowy clouds. I've decided to be spiritual now. No, spiritual awakening is visceral. It's not running down your face. It's reliving traumatic events. It's sobbing on the floor. It's birthing this trauma. And it's all happening to you by the grace of God, whatever you believe in, spirit, source, your ancestors. The concept, we've all heard the concept. Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah, Jesus took the wheel. You were never forgotten. Spirit loves you so much and called upon you. And that's, I'm not a religious person. I'm not in any specific religion. But we can all learn through these phrases. Spirit never forgot you. Spirit came in to show you you are loving and lovable, and you are part of these chosen, people will say. I don't like saying that because that sounds kind of narcissistic, kind of snotty, stuck up. We're the chosen ones. No, you're the people who have been blessed in this life to have this experience so you can become enlightened. And don't get all up in your own ego over it, because you're going to have multiple deaths of the ego. And understand, there's a whole bunch of other people just like you that this has happened to. There's thousands and thousands of books on it. But those who don't understand the experience can't comprehend it. So you might be the only person going through this, and you may not have support systems, you may not have any help. So Spirit will send in a soul family. Hi, I'm part of your soul family. I'm going to link this amazing video that Kevin Smith, the actor Kevin Smith, the director from like Clerks, he talked about, and he went through a classic spiritual awakening and a cleanse. He doesn't refer to it with those terms, but that's exactly what happened to him. And he explains exactly how his childhood trauma came up. He thought he was going crazy. And so Kevin Smith is also part of your soul family. And he is a galactic professor, and he's going to teach us all about his spiritual awakening and cleanse. And I'll link that. He did a whole video about mental health for People Magazine, and I'll link that in the comment here too. When you go through the awakening and the cleanse, you are going to end up at the end of it a completely different person. You are going to be completely different than who you were before. And here's my advice on that. Radically accept it. This has happened to you. Surrender. And surrender in my work means I am surrendering. I am allowing this to be happening. I am allowing myself to understand that I am loving and lovable. And I have been on a healing journey by the grace of Spirit. I am so lucky. That's when you get the Holy Grail, which is self-love. It's the Ace of Cups. So a lot of people are given this information. There are a lot of highly intelligent people That's the people who I work with that are part of my soul family. There are people, I'll just say it, that are too dumb that they can't understand the intelligence. You have to peacefully detach from them. And that's just throwing it out there. It sounds harsh, but it's the truth. And if you keep trying to get these people who can't understand the intelligence to understand your experience, it's like saying to a gorilla, why aren't you making me a souffle? You have an opposable thumb. Yeah, they can't. And they never will. They can't comprehend it. So, if you're highly sensitive, you may have a lot of righteous butthurt. And I call it righteous butthurt because you're butthurt. And it's righteous. You have a reason to be butthurt. Why aren't these people being decent people to you? A lot of the righteous butthurt starts with phrases like, how could you? Why didn't you? And so what we have to understand is, going back to the gorilla making you a souffle, not everybody feels emotions the same way. And if you are highly sensitive, spectrum-y, highly intelligent, it may have never crossed your mind that everybody doesn't feel the same intensity of emotions. So I'm here to tell you that iron fist that's been on your heart that starts with, how could you do this to me? It's gonna lessen up in just a minute. So hear what I have to say. You can feel feelings -1,000, which is really fucking sad, all the way to +1,000. So when you're plugging in super fucking sad and you're saying to people around you, coworkers, family, friends, whoever it may be, something, and you get like nothing back or offense or something, which puts an iron fist on your heart called, how could you? You have to understand the other kind of people. They can only comprehend and feel feelings. The saddest they can feel is 0, and the happiest they can feel is 100. Anything sadder than 0, they're like a calculator that just goes and just error out. They cannot comprehend it. So while you've been your whole life plugging in -994, yeah, really fucking sad, they can only comprehend 0. So their response to -994 was completely inappropriate. But can you blame the gorilla for not being able to make you a souffle? So that's the first thing I try to tell highly sensitive people. Because it never dawns on you that other people don't experience life the same way as you. Especially if you're a spectrum-y person. And I say spectrum-y because autistic sometimes has negative stereotypes to it. A high-functioning autistic person, Asperger's, something like that. If you're my age, I am 50, so 15 years up or down is my generation, or older generations. There's a really good chance you never got diagnosed, never got any help, never got any empathetic, compassionate interpretation, nothing. You got picked on. It never dawned on you that you are spectrum. It never dawned on you that other people aren't trying as hard as you. And so the last video I'm going to put for everybody who has a high-functioning spectrum-y person in their life, Or is spectruming yourself? You'll probably say, yep. Now think about that. When I say like the negative 1,000 to the positive 1,000, you can get these tsunamis of emotions that come over you. You're like, oh, it feels something like that. It's just a tsunami of emotion. And the best way to conceptualize it is through this wonderful video of this delightful autistic girl who's ordering room service. And the lesson on this is you watch the whole thing. She preps herself, she runs it through what she's going to say. She has a couple tsunamis of emotion, she psychs herself up, and then she does it. And the minute she picks up the phone, she puts on her mask. And you can see it, just like that. Her authentic self is right up until then. And then when she puts on her mask and she calls for room service, here is the lesson. The other person on the other end of room service, the employee, who listens to her, hangs up, and his coworker says, "Is that person autistic?" The person who took the order would probably say, "No, not at all. She seemed totally normal." Yet nobody sees the prep work that spectrumy people have to do to live their life. And there's a whole bunch of unrepresented people, especially women, especially black women, that have slipped through the cracks of high-functioning autism and are just finding out now as adults that they're spectrum. And spectrumy women present very differently than your standard Asperger, planes, trains, and automobiles type of boy. Girls and women present differently. More artistic, more into the arts and entertainment. And there's this whole group of show boys that are, there's nothing like effeminate about them unless they want to be. These are serious dudes with big dick energy that are also present this way like a lot of women and girls do. Highly creative, musicians, musical geniuses, into arts and literature, artists, performers, virtuosos. There's a whole bunch of people that slip through the cracks and are just finding out now they're technically autistic. And every year, autism gets bigger and bigger. So I'm going to link another video too, what women with autism want you to know. So there's a lot of information. If your mind is going and worrying and you want something to think about these healing things. Take these lessons. I linked them all. They're just links to other galactic professors on YouTube that have given the information for free. Spirit is healing you free of charge and at your leisure. Knowledge is the key to freedom. If you can comprehend, you can feel better. I'm just a librarian for Spirit. Spirit loves my librarian skills, my clairvoyance ability. And I care about my community. I have been through the cleanse and the awakening, and it's horrific. But at the end, it's beautiful. And you get to be this different version. And what that different version is, it's your authentic self. It's who you truly, really are. The butterfly. The other version before your awakening was the caterpillar version of yourself. And it's very important that we thank the caterpillar version thank you, caterpillar version of myself, for eating all that good food and gaining all that weight so I had the energy to go through this awakening. Thank you, caterpillar version of myself, for taking all that trauma and just taking it, because I'm releasing it right now. You had no choice. Thank you. Whatever it is, whatever issues you have, thank you, caterpillar. The butterfly is never embarrassed of the caterpillar version of itself. And our transgender friends, if you can get there, there's immense healing. Thank you to the caterpillar version of myself. I have now moved into the butterfly version of myself. That's called the metamorphosis. And in my channel, I feel I want to make it really clear. I am not transgender. I was born a woman. I identify as a woman. My pronouns are she. And I've had 2 children vaginally. I don't have anybody in my family that I know of that is transgender. I do have some transgender friends, and I believe there's enough room on planet Earth for everybody. So I welcome our transgender community. Anybody can sit at this lunch table called the Tarot DJ. Anybody. I don't believe people are all good or all bad. I believe people have very difficult journeys to get from Grossville into Healedville. And who people were in Grossville, once they get to Healedville, I understand they're a completely different person. So I welcome anybody on this healing journey. All right? I love you. I hope you love you. So does Bunny Foo Foo.